Some people treat their birthday like it's a national holiday. They post countdowns, hand out guest lists, and basically want the Earth to stop spinning for 24 hours so everyone can applaud their existence. And then, there are the others, the birthday minimalists. The, oh yeah, my birthday was yesterday, no big deal, people. The ones who drop that line as casually as a weather update. Funny thing is, when someone says, it's just another day, most people assume something's wrong, like they're secretly sad, or they once had a traumatic childhood birthday where nobody showed up. And yeah, sometimes that's true, but more often the psychology behind it is way more interesting, and honestly, way more positive than people think. Most I don't celebrate people aren't avoiding joy, they're avoiding performance. They've quietly opted out of the cultural ritual that says every year you must gather people, document your aging on Instagram, and blow on food while friends shout at you. For many, not celebrating is actually a flex of psychological independence. It's autonomy. It's saying, I don't need external validation to know who I am. In psychology, self-determination theory calls this intrinsic motivation, where self-worth doesn't hinge on likes, candles, or midnight texts. These people often value authenticity over conformity. If a tradition doesn't feel meaningful, they don't fake it. They're not rebelling, they're simplifying. And simplicity is linked to something called low need for external structure, basically people who don't rely on social scripts to feel okay. Of course, not everyone gets there through meditation and self-awareness. Sometimes it's learned behavior, a quiet adaptation. Maybe they cared once and got burned. Forgotten birthdays, canceled plans, or years where the effort didn't match the outcome. When disappointment becomes a pattern, the brain lowers the emotional stakes. No expectations, no disappointment. Psychology calls that learned helplessness, a kind of emotional risk management, but even this shouldn't be judged. It's just the mind protecting itself. Sometimes treating your birthday like a normal day isn't apathy, it's a boundary, a way of saying, my peace matters more than performance. Then there's the group that quietly dreads birthdays. Not the date itself, but the emotional trapdoor beneath it. They wake up hoping for a rom-com montage, surprise texts, heartfelt calls, maybe cupcakes and confetti cannons. But when the day feels, well, normal, it triggers a deeper fear. Maybe I'm not as loved as I thought. That's what psychologists call the expectation-reality gap. The bigger the hope, the sharper the crash when things stay ordinary. Birthdays become mirrors, not of age, but of affection. So the brain adapts. Let's not put ourselves through that again. Emotional self-protection, activated. For others, the birthday stress started early in their childhood. Some kids didn't celebrate birthdays, they perform them. Smile for everyone. Open the gift while 30 eyeballs watch. Act thrilled about the sweater. Pose for pictures. Blow out candles while people chant at you like a cult. For shy or sensitive kids, that wasn't celebration. It was a social workout, with frosting on top. As adults, they reinvent the day completely. No audience, no surprises, no pressure. Just quiet peace, favorite food, and zero witnesses. Psychologists call this self-determination theory, being happy with your own self. It's not avoidance, it's peace, chosen with intent. Then there's another type, the sincerely introverted or self-conscious souls. People who simply don't want attention. Not on their birthday, not ever. Being sung to feels like an emotional jump scare. 25 people harmonizing at you while you don't know where to look? Pure nightmare fuel. This isn't drama, it's social self-consciousness, something tied to introversion and high self-awareness. They still value affection. They just prefer it expressed in small, private ways. For them, the best kind of birthday is when nobody makes a fuss. Some people just like their day to blend in. They like normalcy. Predictability feels grounding to them. What looks indifferent from the outside often hides inner calm. These are the people who don't chase attention, but don't fear it either. They're not trying to be mysterious. Attention to them feels like a spotlight when they'd rather be a lamp. Warm, steady, quiet. Here's where it gets even more interesting, because the impact of these birthday choices doesn't stop with the person opting out. For friends and family, it can be confusing, sometimes even hurtful, when a loved one skips the ritual. Our culture leads us to believe that celebrating is how we show we care. So when someone isn't into it, others might wonder if their efforts aren't wanted, or if their relationship matters less. But most of the time, it's not about pushing people away. It's about craving a different sort of connection, one deeper than balloons and surprise parties, and free from the pressure to perform. That's where a subtle push-pull emerges. The quiet negotiation between what love should look like and what actually feels meaningful. Then there's the existential reflection crowd. For them, birthdays are time alarms, checkpoints for self-awareness. Each candle marks another year, a moment to measure progress or pause and reflect. It's not about cake, it's about progress. Every birthday invites comparison. Who I thought I'd be by now versus who I actually am. When that gap feels uncomfortable, some people lower the intensity. They keep the day ordinary to regulate emotion. It's not avoidance, it's pacing. I'll reflect, but on my own schedule. In that way, birthday minimalism becomes a subtle rebellion against the idea that our worth can be counted by calendar dates. Here's the twist that surprises most people. For many, not celebrating is actually a sign of emotional health. When your self-worth isn't tied to parties, gifts, or attention, you tend to be more grounded and secure. You understand that love doesn't need a calendar. Real connection shows up randomly, through presence, small gestures, and sincerity, not because the date demands it. That said, some people do experience birthday blues, a mild emotional dip caused by reflection, maybe by loneliness, or just life not adding up like they'd hoped. But here's the truth. Not celebrating does not automatically mean depression, and celebrating doesn't automatically mean happiness. Psychological autonomy looks different on everyone. And yes, a tiny minority even experience fragapanophobia, fear of being celebrated or having attention drawn to them. But that's rare and usually tied to early experiences or anxiety disorders. Most people aren't phobic. They're just uninterested in the show. But here's the most universal part of all this. Even the most independent, I don't care birthday people. They still check, just for a second, who remembered, who reached out. It's not neediness. It's biology. Humans crave connection, not attention. In the end, when someone doesn't celebrate their birthday, it's almost never a sign of emptiness. Usually, it's quiet strength, a preference for meaning over noise. It's a subtle declaration, I don't need the world to pause for me. I'm already enough. And when someone does remember, without being reminded, that small gesture lands deeper than any grand celebration. Because love, when real, doesn't need a stage. It just needs to show up. So maybe the psychology of people who treat their birthday like a normal day isn't about avoidance at all. Maybe it's about self-trust, simplicity, control, emotional independence, a quiet kind of confidence. Because when you no longer need a birthday to feel real, that's exactly when you are. If this felt a little too accurate, the next video is basically your brain on hidden camera. Watch it and let me know what you think in the comments.